Long before the world bowed before Egypt's pyramids, another kingdom rose from the sands. It was a land carved by the Nile, yet older than the pharaohs we know. They built cities of stone, temples of gods, and pyramids that pierced the skies. But history forgot them, or perhaps history erased them. They were called Nubians. Their kingdom, Kush. For centuries, they rivaled Egypt. At their peak, they ruled Egypt itself. They sent armies against the Romans. Their queens commanded fear. Their kings wore the crowns of pharaohs. Yet today, ask the world about Kush, and silence follows. Why were they forgotten? Who wrote them out of history? And what remains of their legacy, buried beneath desert sands? Tonight, we tell the full story of Kush, Africa's lost empire. The Nile's southern stretches, rugged, fertile, deadly. This was Nubia, a land of gold mines, ivory, and cattle. A bridge between North Africa and the African interior. The people of Nubia were tall, dark-skinned, proud, skilled archers, traders, herdsmen, builders. The Egyptians called their land Taseti, the land of the bow. Why? Because Nubian warriors with their long bows could strike farther and harder than any archer of Egypt. But Nubia was more than soldiers. They developed their own art, their own pottery, their own burial customs. Long before Egypt's first pyramid rose, the Nile shaped them. It fed their fields, carried their trade, and gave them power. This was the cradle of Kush. But with wealth came rivalry. Egypt, just to the north, wanted Nubia's resources. The Egyptians raided. Kerma resisted. For centuries the two clashed. At times Kerma nearly toppled Egypt's middle kingdom. Pharaohs trembled at Nubian armies marching north. By 200 BCE, the first great Nubian kingdom emerged, Kerma. Its capital was a sprawling city of mud brick, temples, palaces, and fortifications. At its heart stood the western defy, a massive temple tower, unlike anything in Egypt. Kerma grew rich from trade. Caravans carried gold, ivory, ebony, and slaves north to Egypt. In return, they received fine linen, jewelry, and wine. But the balance shifted. Around 1500 BC, Egypt struck back with fury. Pharaoh Thutmose I swept into Nubia. Kerma's walls fell. Its kings were slain. For centuries to come, Nubia would live under Egypt's shadow. For nearly 500 years, Egypt ruled Nubia directly. Pharaohs built temples at Abu Simbel and Soleb. They dug mines. They imposed their gods. But the Nubians were not erased. They served in Egypt's armies, becoming elite mercenaries and bodyguards. Slowly, they absorbed Egyptian religion and writing. They worshipped Amun, Ra, and Isis, alongside their own lion god, Apetamak. The Egyptians thought they had conquered Nubia forever. But history was waiting. Around 1100 BCE, Egypt weakened. The new kingdom collapsed. Foreign invasions shook the Nile Valley. And in that moment, Nubia rose again. In the city of Napata, at the sacred mountain Jebel Barkal, new Kushite kings declared independence. They crowned themselves heirs of Amun. Their priests claimed God himself had chosen them. From Napata, the Kushite kingdom expanded, stronger, fiercer, determined to reclaim not just Nubia, but Egypt itself. 750 BC, the king of Kush, Pienki, marched north. Egypt, once mighty, was divided into petty states. Pienki swept through them like desert wind. His army crossed the Nile, besieged cities, and finally, he entered Thebes. Pienki did not destroy Egypt. He embraced it. He offered sacrifices to Amun, cleansed temples, and presented himself as pharaoh. This began Egypt's 25th dynasty, the rule of the Nubians. Under Shabaka, Taharka, and Tutankhamun, Kushite pharaohs restored Egypt's glory. They built pyramids in Nubia and temples in Egypt. Taharka, the most famous, stood against the Assyrians, the superpower of the age. But Assyria was relentless. Their armies stormed Egypt. The Kushites resisted, but by 6556 BCE, they were pushed back to Nubia. Yet even in defeat, they had left their mark. They had ruled Egypt. They had worn the double crown. After losing Egypt, Kush shifted its power south to Meroë. Here, a new age began. Meroë became a city of iron. Thousands of furnaces smoked day and night. Spears, swords, and plows poured from its workshops. The Kushites developed their own Meroitic script, the first written language of sub-Saharan Africa. They built pyramids, hundreds of them. Today, Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt itself. And unlike Egypt, women ruled. The Kandikis, warrior queens, Amaniranas, one of the most famous, faced the Romans after they conquered Egypt. In 25 BCE, her armies struck at Roman forts, even capturing statues of Augustus. When Rome counterattacked, Amaniranas met them head-on. Finally, Rome agreed to peace, and for 300 years Kush stood free beside the empire. The culture of Meroë thrived. Religion blended Egyptian gods with African deities. Amun was worshipped, but so too was Epidemic, the lion-headed war god. Art depicted powerful kings, but also fierce queens. Women held unprecedented authority, ruling armies, conducting diplomacy, presiding over temples. Trade connected Kush to Arabia, India, and the heart of Africa. Ivory, spices, gold, and animals flowed through Meroë's markets. Kush was not a shadow of Egypt. It was a bridge between worlds, African, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern. By the 4th century CE, Kush began to falter. The land grew exhausted from centuries of iron smelting. Forests were cut down, soil eroded. To the east a new power rose, Aksum. In modern Ethiopia, Aksumite armies attacked Meroë, striking the weakened kingdom. By 350 CE, Kush was gone. Its pyramids stood silent, its gods forgotten, its language undeciphered. But its legacy lived on. Nubian kingdoms like Makuria and Alodia rose in the Christian era, and the memory of Kush survived in whispers, waiting to be rediscovered. Kush was no shadow. It was a sun that burned bright. It conquered Egypt. It defied Rome. It forged its own path in history. But history books rarely told its story. Colonial scholars dismissed it. Museums hid it. Yet today, as Sudan's pyramids rise again against the desert sky, we remember Kush, Africa's lost empire, because the Nile has many voices, and Kush still whispers, if we are willing to listen. Final call to action. Tell us your heritage in the comments, and subscribe as we uncover more untold African stories.